My man, how are you feeling? This video is going to be on just how you treat yourself every day. And by that, I mean, do you look at yourself in the mirror, honestly? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you? And do you do it a number of times before you leave that mirror? Why is that? Now, more importantly, I want to ask you this. How often do you tell your wife that you love her? How often? Do you say it once a day? Let's be honest. Let's be honest right now. Do you say it once a day? Do you say it multiple times a day? Do you say it with meaning and conviction? Do you say, I love you, honey? Do you say, I love you? Do you really look at her and say it and see it all the way through before you dart your eyes away from hers? You don't, do you? You don't do it. Here's why. You don't do it for you. I just asked you a couple minutes or a few seconds ago if you did that. The answer that I get is you didn't, and you don't. So how could you say I love you to your wife with conviction, with emotion, and mean it when you can't give it to yourself? You can't begin to figure out how to do it for yourself. So why are you going to be able to do that for her? You can't. You don't have capacity for her because you don't know how to do it for yourself. So this is what I recommend doing. Every morning when you get up, this is actually a relatively newer ritual routine for me, is when I get up, I do these over-exaggerated breaths. And what it does is it gets my oxygen levels up. It gets me feeling really good. Like that little bit just pumped me up a little bit. Then I grab my toothbrush and I put it in my other hand, the one that I don't normally use. So I'm using my left hand, not my dominant right, to brush my teeth. And as I do that, I'm looking at myself in the mirror saying, I love you. And I do it as many times as I want. More than 10, but do it. When you start to show up for yourself and commit to doing something like this, I guarantee you, when you start to do something like this every morning, you show yourself little something, it has a profound, huge impact. Why? Because you started to stand for something for yourself. You started to stand up for yourself and make a commitment. And when you make a commitment, it's now seen as evidence of something that you can do. So you've shown yourself something. You've proven yourself that you can do something consistently. When you do that, what does that create? Confidence. It creates confidence in yourself. And when you create confidence, you start to trust. And when you start to trust yourself by doing things like that, you start to love yourself. You start to really appreciate yourself, my man. And then your cup overfloweth and giveth to your wifeth. That is the name of the game. You get to give yourself something first. Show yourself that you are number one. Don't just say, I am number one, and you plant yourself as number two. There are too many men that are human doings and not human beings. I used to be one of them. I want you to be more engaged, my man. I want you to be more engaged in what you do every day. I want you to be mindful. I want you to be mindful because this helps you understand who you are as a being. This helps you gain ground in your life where you feel like you're off and you go, oh my gosh, I'm angry with this, but I don't know why. Yeah, because you've let little things like that accumulate where you haven't shown up for yourself I'm just going to skip one day. What's the most famous thing I hear? It's probably a joke to many of you. Don't skip leg day. For real, don't skip leg day. For this, don't skip every workout. Show up. Show up for yourself. If you don't show up for yourself, you start accumulating little pockets of hate towards yourself, because you know deep inside that you should have done that for yourself, but you start running from, well, I don't see any point to this today because I've got too many things going on. It was oh my gosh, I've got so many things to do tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to do it. Stop making excuses for yourself. Get up a little earlier. Go to bed a little earlier. You got this, man. When you start making excuses for yourself and cutting yourself out, guess what you're doing? You are going to emulate that in your life. You're going to cut your wife out of things. You're going to cut your children out of things. You're going to do it. I don't have to sit here and tell you and prove to you that you're going to do it, because it's going to start to make sense as you listen to this message that you're already doing. That's how I found out I was doing it, is when I started to see my daughters feel slighted, that I couldn't be there with them in the evenings sometimes, or we took too long at supper and we promised to play games afterwards and board games afterwards, and then we had to cut them out of that. They feel slighted, but that's what you do. You start making excuses as to why, because you're tired. You've got too much monkey brain going on because you're already thinking about tomorrow. Oh, and guess what? You haven't done anything for your wife yet, and she's been there either all day working or all day working at home. Yeah, the most underappreciated job is the working at home parent, right? All right. So you got some work to do, my man. It starts with you. It starts with you. It's got to start every day. You've got to start every day. Start taking that me time. First thing, every morning. And it could be this gradual thing where you get 3 minutes to 15 minutes to 20. And then eventually you're landing on half hour. And it feels so good after half hour. You're like an hour later. Good for you. Good for you. Then you've landed at a pivotal spot because you've started creating consistency. What happens at that point? You start planning. You start taking time for yourself. You don't need any permission. You're an adult. Okay? You don't need anyone's permission, not even your wife's, to do something. You just declare, you say, I'm going to be taking time for myself in 3 weeks. This is the date. You don't need to have any specifics down, but you just declare it as a day for you. If that's the first time you're doing it, it might rub the wrong way. It might come off a little bit edgy, but don't be scared of that. Don't be scared of that. Don't back down from it. Stay with that decision to do it. And then what you do from there is absolutely magical. For me, what I do is I plan days where I get to spend several hours for myself, and I go way out. So 2 or 3 weeks down the road, or maybe a month down the road, I say to my wife, look, I'm going to take some me time. I'm going to take this day. And what do you think she says? She says, okay, are we spending a day on that weekend together? I say, of course. Of course we are. Okay. That's all she needs to know. She needs to know that I'm spending a day with her too. I'm spending a day with me, but I'm spending a day with her too. Thought of me first. That's not selfish. That's self-love. We've been educated in the wrong way. We need to start showing up for ourselves so that we can be the model, the template for our wives, significant others, partners, our kids. We got to stop being these dads that don't show up, that come home from work, that feel like a used ATM. Forgets the password. And, on autopilot with emotions. Well, except for anger, because you've just racked up a whole bunch of resentment debt. Start with this every day. Just do 3 things for yourself I say no less than an hour, but just start somewhere. Just start showing up for yourself. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Let's do this.